And we're live. Welcome to Lakers extremely late night. This is we're talking early morning on the East Coast. You have people getting ready for work in a couple hours. Thanks a lot, Lakers and Jazz for going to overtime in a preseason game, and Quinn Snyder for fouling up three and calling timeouts and all that. That was a all right. I can't cuss on this thing. So anyway, I am joined not tonight by Ben Rosales and Tom Faigen. They were a lot of fun last time. I am joined tonight by Harrison Faigen. How are you doing, Harrison?
Well, you said Tom was Tom Faigen, so does that make us brothers now, or?
Oh no, Tom Fair. Oh gosh, now I'm going to hear about that from Tom.
Yeah, mostly because I'm going to tell him.
It's so late. It's blame Byron. All right.
Hey, it's late. You're telling me I have a midterm tomorrow.
All right, but aside from the worries of life and staying up past 12:15 to talk about the Lakers, how are you holding up?
Pretty good. I mean, that was. I mean, despite it going so late, that was a fun game. I mean, that was about as fun as preseason gets. Like, if that game had started at 6 o'clock, people would be giving it rave reviews. It's just because it was going past midnight. We had reporters basically tweeting that they were going to throw their laptops on the court if it went to a second overtime.
My favorite tweet of the night that only people who write about basketball will get is was Darius tweeting out, you know what, guys? The recap will be up tomorrow.
Yeah.
I'm going to bed. I'm tired.
Yeah.
That was phenomenal.
It is very late to stay up and talk about a preseason game. So seriously, shout out to everybody watching right now. We really appreciate you taking the time to stay up with us.
Most definitely. I guess we'll just go ahead and get into it. Like you said, I completely agree. It was a really entertaining game. I tweeted out, I was handling Lakers Outsiders. You were handling Silver Screen and Roll. But I tweeted out, holy cow, I'm having fun watching the Lakers. What is this reality? I couldn't say that about the entire last season.
I mean, not at all. Other than a couple Jordan Clarkson outbursts, maybe and even then it was leading to wins, and it was well, crap, we're gonna lose our pick. This is nice that he's playing well, but this year, I mean, right now in the preseason, wins definitely don't matter. This year they can't plan on a top 3 pick. We've been over that, and so it's just fun to watch a team like watching Roy Hibbert just come over and stand up for I think it was awesome. Randle, right?
That was phenomenal,
And then Randle get it back. He came right back down on the other end and got that fast break dunk. And they were just really it was getting chippy, and these guys like each other, and that's that's a lot more fun to watch than a bunch of guys just playing out the string on a contract year.
It was really cool. That whole stretch was really cool. I think an overrated or an underrated moment from that whole exchange, not necessarily or obviously Hibbert coming over and defending Randle was great, but at the end of that, I think there was a play where Randle missed a shot, and then Hibbert tipped it in, and the two got super stoked, just hey, high five and all that stuff, and oh, holy crap, we got to get back on defense, and
yeah.
Go ahead. Well, I was just gonna finish by saying that kind of fun didn't take place or hasn't really taken place over the last 2 years. And tonight was a breath of fresh air.
Yeah, especially from Roy Hibbert, who I think really had his reputation get kicked on the way out the door in Indianapolis. And a guy that, a lot of people were criticized throughout his entire career for not caring enough for this, for that. And he seems to have really embraced being with this team, and he feels they wanted him there. Not that they gave up tremendous assets for him, but they gave they were the team that went after him and wanted him as their plan if they struck out on the big fish. And Larry Bird, compare that to Larry Bird, who at the end of the season was basically yeah, this guy's not going to be here. Don't pick up your player option. We won't play you. Just torpedo, it's got to be a shot to your confidence, especially when that's the guy that drafted you.
Right. I thought it's kind of asinine to play a dude 32 minutes in an NBA preseason game when the guy I don't think has ever averaged over 30 minutes in an NBA season. That doesn't make very much sense. But that being said, the positive spin on that was that I mean, it kind of looked like he was telling Byron, "No, keep me in. I want to keep going. I want to keep going. I want to keep going." And
like you probably do right now, he wanted a double-double. It's not the same kind.
Oh, that sounds incredible. That sounds so good. No, I mean, we were going to start with D'Angelo Russell and Julius Randle, but no, I'm perfectly fine talking about how much fun it looked like Roy Hibbert was having on a basketball court, because for a long time I don't think you could say that, and not just on Hibbert's account, but for anybody in a purple and gold uniform over the last 2 years. It just hasn't been very, very much fun.
Yeah.
Getting back to D'Angelo Russell, though, the number one story coming out of tonight's game has to be his health, right?
Yes. And I never thought that I would be so happy to hear that another man has a bruised ass. But and it's a little worrying that they're saying that his glutes weren't firing, which would seem to be an important thing. But you can also understand why, if that was not happening, he looked like he was in so much despair on the court. Like if your glutes aren't firing, like your legs aren't really working, that's got to be really worrying after you just landed on your back. That's got to be terrifying. And so, you can understand why he looked like he was in so much distress after that kind of came out. So I actually, good on the Lakers for not putting him back in, even though apparently he wanted to. So that does show some self. I mean, like you were just saying, they played Roy Hibbert over 30 minutes tonight, which is kind of insane. But I'm glad they didn't put Russell back in. So
right. I would even say, I mean, I kind of tweeted out that it's a win-win in that he's obviously healthy enough to consider giving it a go, but the Lakers showed enough, self-control to say, nah, it's a preseason game. And I know John Black said to some of the other reporters that they would have played him if it were a regular season game or a bigger game, but that they decided not to because it's just not worth it. I am perfectly fine with that. That is the best case scenario of how that could have worked out. Because if you consider, it could have been a really legitimate back injury. It could have been a broken tailbone. It could have been, broken wrist as he came down to support himself during a fall. It could have been any number of things. And a bruised ass, as you say, is the best case scenario there.
I think the lesson learned tonight is we got to be careful about going into full. People were tweeting like, "Oh, and they said that tanking for a top 3 pick was impossible."
Yeah.
It's like, all right, let's slow down for like a couple minutes until we're sure what's going on.
Yep.
I think is kind of the lesson that we learned there.
Yep. Yes, very much so, very much so. So get better soon. I can't imagine tomorrow's a travel day for the Lakers, so I can't imagine they'll have a full-blown practice. Please, Byron, don't have a full-blown practice. But as they get back and as they get, settled in LA again, please get better, D'Angelo Russell, and let's make it through at least, 15 minutes compared to Julius Randle's last season.
Yeah. Oh man, don't say that. Come on.
Speaking of Julius,
still not be good.
All right. I gotta do the sign of the cross. Like I just jinxed the hell out of that. No, speaking of Julius Randle, I thought he was the best player on the court, if not for the Lakers, but overall. I mean, Gordon Hayward played pretty limited minutes. Gobert played pretty limited minutes. Hood showed some signs for Utah, but I thought overall Julius Randle was dominating much of the momentum and the pace and on both sides of the court. What'd you see from Randle tonight?
I mean, in the third and fourth quarter, he was everything that like people kind of hope he can be. It was like peak Randle. I mean, it was going against Jazz backup, so you have to take that into account. But he was switching pick and rolls and staying with the guards. He was like a menace, just like, you know, in general on defense. He was getting steals and deflections and rebounds and taking them full court for dunks, which is like it was. And then like, you know, if the lane got cut off, he was kicking out to 3-point shooters. It's just. It was really a culmination of, and again, like we can't get too hyped over a preseason game, but at the same time, it was awesome to see like all of his potential. Like that's what that's the ideal. That's what we want him to be, is all of those things. And if he can nail those things and, you know, hit a few mid-range jumpers, Lakers have a really solid player.
Right. I mean, it's like you said, everything that we wanted to see. I mean, we saw him moving his feet to the you know, the ability that we thought he could, and then the way he runs a break, it's crazy that, you know, somebody running a break with fundamentals is something to point out, but he was, you know, he made all the right passes in those situations, and we didn't really see that as much in Summer League. I thought he was forcing it a little bit in Summer League. And in that first game, I know in the first game there was a play in transition where he took an extra dribble that kind of slowed down the fast break. This time he was hitting everybody in stride. There was a play off of a missed free throw that led to a wide open Jordan Clarkson 3-pointer in mid transition. That's the kind of stuff that we're, you know, hoping we get to see throughout the season from Randle. And those easy shots and those easy baskets are always tough to come by in the NBA. So the more he can do that, the better. Is there anything from the game that you would have said, you know, hey, he probably still needs to work on a little bit?
I mean, he was like obviously a little out of control at times, but that's just kind of his game. There was that play in transition, I think, where he dribbled it. I know Metta did this as well, but I'm pretty sure there was a play in transition where Julius dribbled it off his leg. He tried to get a little bit too like out of control with it for a guy that big in transition. But I mean, that's kind of like you take the good and the bad with a player, and you can't like get excited over him taking it full court and like succeeding with these crazy moves if you're going to get mad at him for turning it over occasionally, because nobody's perfect. So yeah, I mean, nothing really like he had like some of his shots were a little out of control, like they tend to be when he's like doing his dribble drives, but overall, like you really can't complain. He was I agree with you, he was the best player on the floor tonight. He looked really good.
Yeah, the only thing that I would say that, you know, I'd really like him to continue to really work on is going to his right. The tendency is still to collect himself and finish with the left hand. It's a huge, I mean, when you watch those guys when you watch him go into his strong hand, for example, there's no hesitation to go off of that right leg and finish just using his left hand. I mean, it's not like we're going to ever see him finish the same way with his right hand at any point in his career. I think he's too left-hand dominant to ever expect that. But if he could ever just make that somewhat smooth, that's a huge difference in his game. I saw a few people pointing that out throughout the game tonight. And he's got such a great first step that it's kind of a bummer that he kind of slows down his game to get back to his left hand. What do you think there?
No, I agree with you, but at the same time, as people who've watched the Lakers for as long as we have, I think that we also have some personal experience with Lamar Odom and knowing that a player can work out just fine even if they don't have a right hand.
Well, right, and that's the thing, is that even when Lamar was going to his right, you would still see him at least finish semi-fluidly, or at least attempt to finish semi-fluidly going to his right. The middle ground here, I think, would be not seeing Randle come to a complete stop and pivot back to get to his strong hand. I feel like that's a decent goal to set for him.
I feel like that's fair. I mean, he's in his second year. Like, this is when guys develop. So, it's definitely something he should be I'm sure it's something they do have him working on. He may just not be comfortable enough to bust it out in a game yet against NBA players. Right.
So, James Worthy, if you're watching, this should be at the top of your list to work with Randle on. Other guy who's working with Randle, last little thing, and then we'll get to a fun little game to wrap the show up. Other guy who has been working really hard with Randle is Metta World Peace. He played tonight. How did you think he did out there?
I mean, he was certainly like all over the place. He
Yeah,
he nearly I mean, he nearly took out a couple teammates and a few Laker girls in the first quarter on his first play in the game when he stripped Gordon Hayward. And like I think you were saying on Twitter, I mean, man, his hands are so so quick
and strong.
Yeah. But like he definitely hasn't lost that, and he looks like he's in great shape. And then I think with the added benefit of mentoring Randle, you know, there is like a real debate as to whether or not he's worth a roster spot. But yeah, I mean, we'll get to see a little bit more of that over the preseason. But yeah, I mean, it was fun to have him back out there and playing well.
To that point, to the you know, when you're talking about a roster spot, I think the biggest thing that we just flat out couldn't see from Metta tonight was being an utter disaster out there, right?
Yeah.
Where he can't stay in front of anybody. He's missing wide open corner threes. He's dribbling the ball off his foot by trying to do too much.
Well, he did do that.
Wait, all right. So that's going to happen anytime you're watching Metta. You know, I'm talking about, you know.
That was in his prime. He was doing that. So
exactly. That was Metta being Metta. When we had Doug Eberhardt on the show last week, and you know, when we had Doug Eberhardt in the Lakers lounge, I asked him as a coach if Metta can stick around and have any kind of impact on Randle, does that make him more valuable than your typical role player there at the end of the bench? I'm looking at you, Ryan Kelly. I'm sorry. I'd much rather have Metta on the team to mentor Julius Randle than have Ryan Kelly's messed up hairdo out there bricking three-pointers and just bungling ISO plays. It sounds harsh, but at the end of the day, it's for, you know, not just what's best for the team right now, but Randle's impact is going to, you know, affect the organization moving forward for the next decade or so, you'd hope. And if Metta can affect that or positively guide that, he's much more valuable than, you know, Frazier or Kelly or Sacre at the end of the bench.
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to go ahead and wrap up the show. These are a little bit shorter than the Lakers Lounge shows. They're just quick little recaps. I enjoyed, or you know, while we were still doing the Lakers Outsiders shows, one of the games that we used to do was let's find a song to sum up the entire game. I'm going to start here, and I'm going to let Harrison finish so that he can think about his a little bit. Seeing as that overtime just seemed to drag and drag and drag and drag, I thought I'd go with the song that never ends. It's that really annoying nursery rhyme from Lamb Chop of my childhood.
I was going to say, if you were going to say Yankee Doodle, I was going to lose it.
No, it's a song that never ends. Yes, it goes on and on, my friends, and it just keeps on going and going and going. That overtime, had Lou Williams or Nick Young, whoever shot that three in the corner, made it to send it into double overtime, I'm telling you, this show wouldn't have taken place. We would have just waited until the next morning. So, yep, song that never ends. What do you got?
I got "Up All Night" by Drake because yeah, I mean, I don't know that I need to explain that a whole lot. It feels like we're gonna be up all night after this, but yep. I mean, it was a fun game. Like all like complaints about lateness being said, it's still like it's nice to be able to say that I had fun watching the Lakers.
Right. You put it perfectly by saying that had this game started at a decent hour and ended at a decent hour, there would be zero complaints about this game, even with the Lakers losing. There would be no.
Yeah, and the Russell thing that I guess we'll wait to hear more about, but. That happened in the first quarter, ancient history.
Hey, I'll just say this from experience. I did at one point bruise a tailbone, and that's gonna suck for Russell in the morning. That is somebody's
gotta tell a rookie that he needs to sleep on his stomach tonight.
Yeah, I suck, little guy, or not little guy. He's like
he's probably right.
Yeah. All right. Well, that'll do it on my end. Do you have anything to add before we sign off here?
Well, I just wanted to say, I'm honored to get to be the Stephen Colbert to your David Letterman, and you're bringing me on your show because you won't be here Thursday, and we wanted to make sure that the viewers were aware of me, I guess. And so, yeah, I will be hosting Thursday night because Anthony is unavailable for, when you're old, sometimes you need to rest in the preseason, so he's going to take the next game off, just scheduled maintenance.
No, in all honesty, I am old and bungled the schedules. I thought the Lakers played on a Friday. They'd play on a Thursday. I had made plans on a Thursday, so fortunately Harrison will step in on said Thursday. I just hope I have a show to come back to after Thursday.
Well, Ryan Kellepire will be joining me, so maybe.
Also, shameless plug on my end. Tomorrow I will be recording this week's Lakers Lounge. Look forward to that. I don't like giving guests away because if something falls through, that's always kind of embarrassing. So look forward to tomorrow's Lakers Lounge. It'll probably air Thursday morning. And, enjoy the Lakers, guys. Again, be happy that we have not only basketball back, but fun basketball back. This was great. This was a lot of fun. Thanks, Harrison.
It's always great, Anthony.